He said he was leaving because she understood him. I used to replay those words like a wound I couldn't stop touching. But somewhere between heartbreak and healing, I realized I didn't lose him. I found myself. Everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an incredible story like this one. When he left me, it wasn't with a slammed door or a heated argument. It was quieter than that, too quiet, really. The kind of quiet that seeps into your bones and makes you realize that endings aren't always loud. They can be as simple as a pause, as soft as a sigh. He stood in the doorway that morning, his suitcase beside him. His face was calm to command, I knew before he opened his mouth. I could feel the unraveling, thread by thread, of the life I thought we were weaving together. I just need someone who understands me, he said. It was strange, the way that sentence cut through me. Not because of what he said, but because of what it implied that I hadn't understood him. Not really, not enough to stay. I nodded. I didn't cry, not right then. I remember watching him walk down the hallway, the sound of his footsteps fading. I remember closing the door and feeling the weight of air pressing down on my chest, like the apartment itself was grieving. I spent that first week in silence. I didn't play music, didn't answer messages, didn't cook. I sat on the couch with my knees drawn up, scrolling aimlessly through memories in my mind, our vacations, our inside jokes, the way he used to reach for my hand in crowded rooms. I replayed them like a movie I didn't want to end, even though it already had. Friends told me to delete his photos, to block him, to move on. But healing isn't that clean. It's messy and slow and full of backtracking. Some nights I convinced myself he would realize he'd made a mistake. Other nights, I cursed myself for missing someone who'd chosen to leave. The woman he left me for, I saw her once, by accident. We were both at the same cafe, though she didn't notice me. She was beautiful, in a delicate, understated way. Her voice was gentle, and I remember thinking, so this is who understands him. I studied her and wondered if she listened better, laughed softer, or carried less weight in her heart. I wanted to hate her, but instead, I felt this strange, hollow pity for both of us, because I realized, right then, that understanding someone isn't about decoding them. It's about standing beside them as they change. And maybe that's what broke us. I kept trying to hold on to the version of him I fell in love with, while he kept shedding his skin, becoming someone I didn't recognize. The months that followed were blurry. I moved through them like a ghost, doing the things I was supposed to do, work, errands, dinners, but feeling detached, as if I was watching my life from a distance. I missed him, yes, but more than that, I missed myself. I had forgotten who I was outside of us. One evening, I sat alone on the balcony with a glass of wine, watching the city lights flicker like tiny confessions in the dark. The air was warm, and the world felt alive in a way I hadn't for a long time. And suddenly, without meaning to, I whispered aloud, "What do I want?" It was such a simple question, but it cracked something open in me. I started small. I signed up for a pottery class not because I had any interest in clay, but because I needed to touch something that wasn't a phone screen or a memory. The first few classes were awkward. My creations looked like abstract blobs, but there was something grounding about shaping something with my hands, about watching form emerge from mess. It mirrored what was happening inside me. Then I began running. At first, I could barely make it around the block, but there was something about the rhythm of my breath, the sound of my feet hitting pavement, that began to quiet the noise in my head. I wasn't running away anymore. I was running towards something, though I didn't yet know what. I started traveling on weekends, taking short trips to places I'd never been. I ate breakfast alone in quaint cafes, lingered in art galleries, sat by the ocean for hours. Somewhere between the silence and the movement, I began to rediscover myself. It's strange how loneliness can become a doorway. At first, being alone felt unbearable, but gradually it turned into freedom. I could make choices without compromise. I could say yes without hesitation or no without guilt. I could listen to my own thoughts and find comfort in them. I began investing in myself not in a self-help cliché kind of way, but in real, tangible ways. I redecorated my apartment. I bought the perfume I used to think was too expensive. I started saving for the life I wanted, not the one I thought I was supposed to build with someone else. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, life began to change color. People noticed. Friends commented that I seemed lighter, happier, more me. I smiled more often, but not the kind of smile that hides pain, the kind that comes from genuine peace. Months turned into a year. I saw him once during that time by chance, at a mutual friend's event. He looked different, older, maybe a little tired. She was with him, the woman who understood him. They looked fine, like any couple. He smiled when he saw me, that polite kind of smile that acknowledges a shared past, but doesn't invite conversation. And you know what? My heart didn't twist this time. I didn't feel anger or sadness. I just felt gratitude, because if he hadn't left, I might never have met this version of myself, the one who knows her worth, her desires, her peace. Sometimes I think about that moment in the doorway, the day he left. I used to see it as the day everything fell apart. Now I see it as the day everything began. Life since then hasn't been perfect, but it's been mine. I built a small business doing freelance design work, something I'd always wanted to try but never had the courage for. It started as a side project, just me and my laptop at the kitchen table, but it grew faster than I expected. I began working with clients who valued my creativity, my vision. The first time I got paid for a project I truly loved, I cried not out of sadness, but pride. I traveled more. I saw sunsets in Bali, walked through Paris in the rain, and spent New Year's Eve alone in a tiny cabin by a frozen lake. Each experience became a thread in the tapestry of my new life. I learned to enjoy my own company so deeply that solitude no longer felt like lack, it felt like luxury. Of course, there were still moments of ache. Sometimes, I'd wake up in the middle of the night, reaching for a body that wasn't there. Sometimes, I'd wonder if I'd ever fall in love again. But I stopped seeing love as the destination. I started seeing it as something that begins within. I used to think love meant finding someone who completed me. Now I know it means being so complete within myself that love becomes a choice, not a necessity. One afternoon, I was at a rooftop event, a networking mixer, something I'd normally dread. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, and I stood there, glass in hand, feeling at peace. A man approached me, kind eyes, easy smile, and we started talking. Nothing forced, nothing heavy, just conversation. He didn't ask about my past. He asked about my passions. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't performing. I wasn't trying to be understood. I was simply being myself. Whether or not that connection led anywhere doesn't even matter. What mattered was realizing that I could open my heart again, not because I was lonely, but because I was full. There's a quiet power in rebuilding yourself from the ground up. I no longer crave validation the way I used to. I no longer measure my worth through someone else's eyes. I've built a life that feels luxurious, not because of money or material things, but because it's rich in peace, purpose, and self-respect. Luxury, I've learned, isn't a penthouse view or a designer bag. It's waking up without anxiety. It's having boundaries. It's saying no when something doesn't align with your soul. Sometimes, when I'm sitting in a cafe with my laptop open, sunlight spilling across the table, I catch my reflection in the window and smile. I see a woman who has walked through heartbreak and come out shining, not unscarred, but stronger. If I could speak to the version of me who sat crying on the couch that first week, I'd tell her this: you will not stay broken. You will not be defined by who left. You will build a life so beautiful that you'll look back one day and thank him for walking away because he didn't leave you for Someone who understood him, he left so that you could finally understand yourself, and that understanding deep, quiet, unwavering is the most powerful love there is.